two trailblazing warrior women going after the serial killer is not the way the serial killer story is normally told. It's always a serial killer and a dogged cop who's trying to save all the women, when in fact the story is nobody was trying to save the women. It took two women to say, hey, women, there's danger in the streets. And in fact, the case took place 10 years before the term serial killer was even developed. This was the beginning of psychological profiling. It's a really important case. And when you tell this story, you never hear about these women. And they were absolutely integral to connecting the dots, breaking the case, pressuring the police department. And I was shocked that I had known the outlines of the story my whole life, and I'd never heard of these women before.
Yeah, I think this film is very much a love song to female investigative journalists. And it's really highlighting the importance to have women in positions of power as far as storytelling. Because as Carrie has said, this was a story that was largely ignored by the male establishment. And it took these two women to recognize what was happening, to highlight the problems within the police investigation, and to warn the women of their community that they needed to be careful. I was amazed at their tenacity, and I found it a really inspiring story from the point of view of two women who were absolutely dogged in their pursuit of justice.
When sexism like this in the workplace was at its height in a newsroom, because there were so few female reporters, these women, they went on to have really storied careers in an unusual arena. I mean, Loretta was a medical reporter. Jean continued to work covering crime. And that's in spite of all the death threats they had received. Hopefully in most professions, women aren't going to go get that, but we're all belittled and we're all underestimated. That's not going to change anytime soon. So the important takeaway from the story is that we have the possibility of looking out for each other and advocating for our communities, and hopefully finding allies along the way, which the women also find in the movie.
She was a completely extraordinary woman. I feel very privileged to be able to highlight her work, highlight her struggle. She had such an interesting career. You could make many more films about all of the cases that she that she went after. It's very important to me to highlight female stories. I think this is a really important one, particularly because it's such a famous case, and the fact that they have been erased from it, the fact that these are the two women that coined the very term Boston Strangler, and yet they weren't part of this story, I found sort of extraordinary. So I feel very privileged to be able to highlight their work.